Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 13 game NBA slate on Wednesday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Also make videos for NBA Top Shot. If you're unable to watch the videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. Premium content offer then patreon.com, NFL, and an NBA package cover the main and the showdown slates. The sponsor of the first half of the video, guys, is Roast Umber. If you guys are not familiar with Roast Umber, coffee company, I'm a huge coffee guy, and I feel like, again, you have to be caffeinated to play DFS, but I have a 20% discount code DKDFS, all one word. Link will be down below, that you can order to either get coffee, decaf coffee, or my personal favorite, the Nitro. So if you guys, again, want to try out Roast Umber, and I really do recommend it, 20% off, use my discount code, would greatly appreciate that. And all right, so let's get into the video. First, let's look back lineup here from tonight. So I was, hammering home on Patreon, don't play tonight, or if you're playing, play extremely light, because this is just, probably the worst two-game slate we've ever had. And I just played extremely light. I just played the big tournament, and I cashed with ease, even with an injured player, Killian Hayes. So, yeah, D'Angelo Russell, Noel, McDaniels, Randall, Towns, Kemba Walker, Kuminga, and Killian Hayes. Yeah, I basically just stacked the first game because I was much more confident the game would stay close. I had no confidence in the Pistons keeping it close, and sure enough, they just got absolutely destroyed. And yeah, so that was my strategy, right? I went to D'Lo, who also, he got in massive foul trouble too. He lost about 10 minutes at least there. I went to Low and Jalen Noel, who was a smash. McDaniels is fine. Randall, you needed him tonight. Towns started off really good, and then cardio the last 3 quarters there. I took a shot in the Low and Kemba Walker. It worked out. Kuminga, once I knew he was starting, I felt pretty safe about going there. And then again, unfortunately, Killian Hayes got injured, got 0. Someone was saying that he was bad chalk, and I was like, okay, you predict injuries now, right? Of course, I think Killian Hayes is really bad. I've been saying that all year. I don't think he's a good player at all. Doesn't mean he wasn't a good value today, right? And if you take a look at high stakes for a guy like Killian Hayes, he was the massive chalk, right? He was over 50% owned. And again, injured, just landmines left and right, with a blowout and the first game kind of being underwhelming scoring-wise. Just literally, there's bust everywhere, right? There's only a couple guys that did well tonight. Randall did well. Isaiah Stewart did well. Who else? Klay Thompson did well. Saban Lee in the blowout did well. And Kuminga did well. Other than that, basically everyone else busted, right? Let's just take a look at the lowest scoring lineup. So, Killian Hayes, 53%. Klay, 33%. RJ Barrett was a massive bust, 66%. Randall smashed. Towns was a bust. Damian Lee was a bust. Vanderbilt was a bust. Let's see, what else? Sadiq Bey was a massive bust. Him and Cade Cunningham, both massive busts. Yeah, Cade Cunningham, also the chalk, right? 50+%, 15 fantasy points. Massive bust. Mitchell Robinson, bust. 40% owned, 15 fantasy points, right? So, there's very few people that got there tonight. And again, I hated the slate. I knew it'd be ugly. It was ugly, and still cash, even with the 0, even with the injury there from Killian Hayes. Hope you guys had a good night. Hopefully you made some money on this awful 2-game slate. Now we have 13 games to talk about, so got to go a little bit quick here. Let's start on the Brooklyn side. No KD, obviously, he's out for about a month. My best ball team basically done because of that. So not super happy about that, but hey, what can you do? Harden and Kyrie at the top, 9.3 and 11.6. I think I prefer the price point on Kyrie Irving. Both are going to be high usage. Obviously, both are going to play big minutes, and you got Kyrie coming in about $2,000 cheaper. Now, I do think Harden, is going to be the better point per guy of the two. But again, you also have Kyrie coming in way cheaper. So I have a small lean to Kyrie over Harden. The secondary options, Patty Mills doesn't really stand out. We do have Aldridge coming back. We'll keep an eye on the starting lineup. I would assume he starts over Day'Ron Sharpe. We'll monitor that. If he does, I think we get low 20s minutes, so he'd be a playable value. Costa Edwards has been starting and playing big minutes without KD. 37-38 last couple games. He's a fair value, but I'll just say you can never fully trust Steve Nash. On the Washington side, not much here. Basically a fully healthy team. It's really hard for me to get to any of these guys. Brad Beal at 8.9K. Again, it feels overpriced now with this team fully healthy. Kuzma's been playing out of his mind, and you guys know my thoughts here. But I'm not going to say no. He's been playing really, really well. He's also been rebounding at a very high clip, even with some of these bigs back, right? Even with Bryant back, even with Harrell back, Kuzma's still getting a ton of rebounds. So I probably won't go there, but I think he's probably my favorite play of the Washington Wizards. Dinwiddie doesn't really stand out. The big is really hard to trust. It's kind of like a three-headed monster of like Harrell, Gafford, and Thomas Bryant. If you want to take some shots on those guys, like you can. Thomas Bryant is 370 at a decent game. Last game played 16 minutes, but again, he still really hasn't been getting huge runs. So not a ton that I love on the Washington side. On the Magic side, kind of the same thing. This team's been extending the rotation a bit. Carter Jr. is questionable. Cole Anthony, 7K. I mean, the minutes have been trending down. He's also been playing really, really bad. I think he's fine for GPPs. Franz is fine for tournaments as well. They've been starting like Lopez, we're giving Bamba minutes. Like Mo Wagner's been getting minutes too. I don't necessarily trust that he's going to continue to get decent minutes, but he's been super productive. It's really hard for me to get to anyone on this Magic team. I think Suggs is fine in low 20s minutes at 4.7K, but not a very appealing team. On the Philadelphia side, really good matchup here. I think Joel Embiid makes for a decent contrarian spend up. As long as game stays competitive, I think we're getting low 30s minutes. So like Embiid there. Tobias Harris has been awful. He's been awful, but the price has also come way down to 6.7K. So, like, I don't like playing Tobias Harris when Embiid is there, but I think he's actually a pretty decent play at that price point. Max is going to play huge minutes, but also feels priced about right. Kind of the same thing with Seth Curry. Not much else here for me. Moving on to Charlotte and Boston. So, we might have Kelly Oubre coming back, which would make the wings a little bit riskier. So Oubre is questionable. If he's in, I think the minutes are a little bit riskier for guys like Bridges and Hayward. We also have LaMelo Ball back. He missed the game last game, so we had some big games from guys like Rozier and Bridges in LaMelo's absence. So basically my same breakdown is always with Charlotte of the top four guys, LaMelo, Bridges, Rozier, Hayward, all in play for me for tournaments. If the game stays competitive, probably one of those guys is going to have a good game. But as I always say, good luck trying to figure out who it's going to be. Martin becomes a lot riskier if Kelly Oubre plays. We also LaMelo Ball back too, so don't know if I get to a guy like Cody Martin. On the Boston side, so it's a really, really good matchup here. I think both Tatum and Brown are in play for me. I think both get, close to 40 minutes, so I like both here. Again, Charlotte is just a team I love attacking, so both Tatum and Brown firmly in play for me. Robert Williams, again, it is a really good matchup, but the price point at 7-1 just feels priced about right. Marcus Smart is also questionable, so we'll keep eyeing that. If he misses, then yes, Dennis Schroeder's become a play. I am very, very happy for all those that played him last couple slates. 40 bomb and a 50 bomb. Again, I play him at pretty low ownership. 5 fantasy points in 25 minutes. 5, guys. 5 fantasy points. But yeah, no, he would be firmly in play, assuming that Marcus Smart does not give it a go. Minnesota, Atlanta. So we just saw the Timberwolves tonight. Again, basically my same breakdown with this team. I like the matchup. Towns, Edwards, and D'Lo, but trying to figure out who's going to have the really good game of the three is a little bit more difficult. So I like all three in an up-tempo game, but all three more tournament plays for me. Vanderbilt was relatively popular today. He was a huge bust. But besides the game tonight, he's been pretty consistent. I think Pat Beverly is a pretty safe play. They're probably going to need his defense on a guy like Trae Young, and I think we get close to that 30-minute mark. So I think Pat Bev pretty safe. Noel is a guy I went to a low ownership. Again, he's kind of had an elevated role recently. Now, we did have D'Lo foul trouble, so he probably played a couple extra minutes because of that. But I still think you can go to him. He's been like very, very good off the bench. So I think Noel is a viable value play. On the Atlanta side, so Trae Young in play for me for tournaments. The price has dropped a little bit, but still not enough for me to go to there for cash games. Still no Capella. So John Collins will play some at the 5. I think he's a pretty solid tournament play. He is up and down, so not someone I would trust in cash games. And the game last game, so the Hawks have just been trolling with the minutes here. Last game, or 2 games ago, they started Gorgie Jang. Last game, it was Okongwu that started, played 36 minutes. Jang got a DNP. So, like, here's the thing. If Okongwu is going to start and play 35 minutes, I like him here for value. But do they go back to Gorgie Jang? He got a DNP last game, so I don't know, right? I'm not sure what's going to happen here. So Okongwu playable, but a little bit worried about his minutes. And then some of the value options, like DeAndre Hunter has been stepping it up a bit of late, and he's really been more aggressive on the offensive end, which I like to see. 11, 10, 9, and 17 shot attempts over the last 4 games. So I think Hunter's playable. Obviously, good defender. Minutes been ticking up as well. So kind of like Hunter there for value. And then, guys like Herter, Gallinari are fine too. Herter should play low 30s minutes. Gallinari's minutes do tend to go up and down, but last 3, 34, 27, and 30. So, the value options here for Atlanta, I think, are decent. Portland and Miami, really, really tough matchup here for Portland. Nurkic at almost 9K. I mean, we do have Bam playing, and Bam's one of the better big defenders in the league. So as much as I love playing Nurkic, I think he's more of a GBP only play. CJ McCollum, 8K, I am intrigued by, even though it's a bad matchup. Only played 28 minutes. That game was a blowout, though. So, I think he's interesting here. He's going to be more the playmaker. Simon's price is still kind of up with CJ back. Probably not going to go there. Norman Powell is doubtful, so you should get some pretty big minutes from Robert Covington, who I'm not kidding. He's been averaging 15 steals a game, it feels like. 15 steals and blocks. That's what Robert Covington is getting every single game. I mean, just look at the last 5 games here. 3 steals, 3 blocks. 3 steals, 3 blocks. 4 steals. 4 steals and 1 block. 2 steals and 3 blocks. So he's been playing huge minutes. He's been having some good games, but I don't think we can continue to have him average 3 steals and 3 blocks a game, right? So that's the downside of Covington. Little is fine. I was a little bit tilted last game. I thought he was not the best chalk, and he had a pretty good game. But again, you should get some pretty big minutes for both those wings. On the Miami side, so Jimmy Butler, 9.1K. I think makes for a pretty good play. No Kyle Lowry. Play a decent amount at the point. He had a triple-double last game, so I like Jimmy. Up-tempo matchup here. I think he's pretty safe. Bam Adebayo, 7-7. His first game back only played 32 minutes, which is not bad. So I think we probably get low to mid-30s from Bam, which makes him a viable tournament play. Tyler Hero, 7-3. I just can never get this guy right. I literally can't. But he is more in play, obviously, with Lowry out. I would expect low 30s minutes from him. Now, we did see Gabe Vincent start last game, and Gabe Vincent played 27 minutes. So I think he's a fair value play, assuming that he starts again. The rest of the value, we saw Dedmon actually get the backup 5 run over Yurt Goat 7, which was sad. PJ Tucker probably plays about 30 minutes, but it's also PJ Tucker. So not a ton else here. Cleveland and Chicago. Darius Garland, 9K. He's been playing huge minutes, and he has been really playing well this year. 50-plus now the last 4 games for him. So, I'm still fine going to Garland. That it's a little bit harder for me to prioritize him at this price point, but he's been playing really, really well, and right now he's just doing everything for the team. The bigs for Allen, Mobley, and Love, I think are all in play for tournaments. I don't know if there's one guy that stands out there. Lauri Markkanen, 5-7. I think we get low 30s minutes from him, which again makes him a fair secondary play. Don't know if I get to anyone else. I know Stevenson, Rondo are out. Okoro, he's a low usage guy. He did play over 30 minutes. I could see maybe taking a shot at a guy like Shetty, who's actually not a bad point per minute guy. The only issue is the minutes fluctuate for him. All right, Chicago. So no Levine, no Lonzo Ball. DeRozan and Vooch should be the 2 highest usage players here. I think both are decent options. The only downside is Cleveland actually has been a pretty good defensive team, but both DeRozan and Vooch I have some interest in. We also have Caruso probable. Now, I haven't strongly implied the veteran would be under a minutes limit when he does return. So, we'll see what this minutes limit is for Caruso. I don't know if I play Caruso himself, but, if he's limited to 25 minutes, it would probably hurt Kobe White a little bit. Now, Kobe White most likely starts at the point and probably plays low 30s minutes. At 6'5", it's getting to the point where I don't think he's a must, but I do think he's still pretty solid play. And Io has just been playing out of his mind last couple games. 43 and 48 fancy points for Io, 40 and 38 minutes. I really don't know what to make of this guy. He does have upside when he's playing well, but let me just show you guys this. 32 minutes here against Golden State in that blowout in garbage time. 2 fantasy points in 32 minutes. The game before that, 23, 8 fantasy points. So I feel like he's a confidence player. When he's getting it going, he can have a lot. He can play really well. If he starts off slow, I think that's where he kind of defers. I'm probably not going to pay the price point for Io, but I understand it, right? He's been playing really, really well last few games. Memphis and Milwaukee, so no Bane, no Brooks, no Slow-Mo. It'll be interesting to see who Memphis ends up starting here. I think John Morant, 8.9K, makes her a pretty solid spend up. You had foul trouble here, blowout. So the minutes have been down a little bit. I think box score watchers might be a little bit scared off of Ja. I think in a competitive game, we probably get 36, 37 minutes. So some John Morant there at the top. Triple J with Steven Adams back does not really stand out to me. Adams himself at 4.9, more of a secondary play. I think we get mid-20s minutes there. Now, the interesting thing is, all right, who else is Memphis going to start, right? It's going to be Ja at the point, Triple J at the 4, Adams at the 5. Who starts at the 2 and the 3? Does De'Anthony Melton start? Does Conchar start? Does Zaire Williams? Maybe I don't think they would, but maybe an outside chance they start Tyus and Ja together. Like, it's really going to come down to who ends up starting. If I had to guess right now, I would say Melton starts at the 2, and then one of Conchar or Zaire Williams start. Either way, you're probably going to see a lot more minutes for these guys. And the guys I have the most interest in with Melton, he's a really good point per minute guy. Conchar does have upside. We saw it a couple games ago. We were absolutely off. So, like, he would be a pretty decent value. Zaire Williams is 3-1. Again, he's a good defender. Not as good of a point per minute guy. And then Tyus Jones, we have seen games where they've closed with him alongside Josh. So, definitely going to be interesting to see who they end up starting. But, yeah, Memphis is a team that does have some interesting value plays. On the Milwaukee side, so Jrue Holiday is currently questionable. Keep an eye on that. I don't know if there's anything that really stands out. Middleton's a little bit pricey, especially if Jrue Holiday comes back. Giannis himself at $12K feels priced about right. Still some upside, but doesn't really stand out to me. Portis at $7K, again, kind of the same thing. They started George Hill last game at 3.1K. If there's no Jrue Holiday and he starts again, then sure, you can go to him. Obviously not a good point per minute guy, but would get some decent minutes if he is in that starting lineup. Toronto and Dallas. So I would like to congratulate the Toronto Raptors last game on their game in the NBA Finals, where they ran a 6-man rotation. A 6-man rotation. No, guys, it's not the NBA Finals, Game 7. Nah, just a random regular season game. 6-man rotation for Toronto. Let that kind of soothe in your mind for a little bit. A 6-man rotation. I've seen some wild stuff in NBA DFS. But a team for a random regular season game to run a 6-man rotation is up there for one of the most wild things I have ever seen. I still cannot get over that. 6 players they played. Yeah, they played just Champagne played like 5 minutes. All right, I don't count that. 6-man rotation. So assuming they're just gonna play everyone 50 minutes a game, then yeah, we have to consider all these main guys. And we got to keep an eye on Gary Trent Jr., too, who's currently questionable. If he misses, it's really going to solidify the minutes for Achua and for Boucher. So, Siakam, 9-1. Is only center eligible, which I don't love, but he's been playing really, really well. No issue going there. Van Fleet at 8-6, the price has come down. He's going to play like 43 minutes a game. So, the main 2 guys look pretty decent. OG got in some foul trouble last game, but still played 34 minutes. You had Scotty Barnes play huge minutes as well. He played 39. Precious Achua started and played like 37 minutes. If Gary Trent's out and Precious starts again, I think he's a pretty good value play. Boucher off the bench just played massive minutes, 38 minutes, and we know he's a good point per minute guy. So basically the main guys we're trying to all look good if Gary Trent's out. Now, will they run a 6-man rotation again? Most likely not. It would really surprise me if they go back to that 6-man rotation. But I think if Trent's out, really solidifies the minutes there for the main 6 guys. All right, on the Dallas side, so Luka, 10.8K, has kind of had a slow start to the year, but had a big game last game, even though he shot really bad for 17, won for 67 fantasy points. So we probably get mid-30s minutes from Luka, which I think makes him in player at the top. Porzingis did start the 5 last game. He only played 28 minutes, though, which was a little bit concerning. So, let's see, Coach Kidd literally had to drag Porzingis off the floor in the 4th as the staff intended to restrict his minutes second game back. Okay. So, yeah, that was annoying, too. We never got news the last slate that Porzingis was on a minutes limit. Thank you, Jason Kidd. Okay, so keep an eye on the news here. If Porzingis is not on the limit and he starts the 5 again, I think he makes for a really good play at 7-8. If he's still limited, then I probably don't want to go there. Brunson feels a little pricey at 6-8. We do have Kleba listed as questionable. If he can't go, I would think Dwight Powell probably get some more run, which would make him a fair value play. Let's move on to OKC and San Antonio. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last week or so has really, really been playing well. 8.4K. I think he's a pretty solid play. Good matchup against Spurs. Don't play a whole lot of defense. So I think Shai looks good. Giddy at 6'8 doesn't really stand out to me. Dort had a good game last game. Probably plays low 30s minutes. He's just a secondary play for me. Baisley, again, he can have upside, but also his minutes are not secure. JRE, that made him only center eligible, thankfully, so I don't really have to consider this guy. Like, yeah, it probably plays low to mid 20s minutes, but he's caused me a lot of pain this year. I'm moving on to the Spurs. So basically a fully healthy team. DeJounte Murray, 9.7K. With Derek White coming back does hurt him a little bit. But I like the matchup here, so I still think he's in play for tournaments. Pirtle had a massive game last game, but his price house went up a little bit. Derek White at 6.2K. So they trolled us, right? Because didn't he end up starting? The original report was he was coming off the bench, and then they moved him in the starting lineup after lock. But yeah, Derek White at 6'2", I actually think he's probably my favorite secondary play of the bunch. And the rest is just really hard to trust. The likes of Johnson, Vassell, Lonnie, McDermott, Bates, Diop. It's really hard to. I believe Bryn Forbes got traded, I think. Yeah, and just a pretty odd trade. Hernan Gomez, Bull, PJ Dozier. Yeah, interesting trade. But don't play Bryn Forbes. All right, Houston and Utah. So Christian Wood, Kevin Porter Jr. probably the guys I'm looking to here. Utah, again, hasn't been the same defense of years past, but they're still on the upper end of defensive teams, I guess, for the year. So, but if this game can stay competitive, then Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. are going to be the reasons why, and both should play big minutes. So I have interest in both as contrarian plays, but neither are going to be priorities for me. The value, there's just not much here for Houston I'm interested in. Now, Utah, a little bit of a different story here. No Mitchell, no Whiteside. Starting with Gobert, doesn't really get a massive boost with Mitchell out, but I still think he makes for a pretty safe play against an awful Houston front court. But the guards here are going to, and the secondary plays are going to look a lot better. So Mike Conley, 6K, kind of been avoiding him all year. I think he's a decent option at this price. Should play low 30s minutes, does get a pretty big usage bump with Mitchell off the court. Bogdanovich, again, I hate playing guys like this, but he probably gets more shot attempts up. He's just scoring dependent. Jordan Clarkson should get more run too. I think he makes for a pretty good play at 5.5K. I would think we probably get over 30 minutes from Clarkson. I would guess Joe Ingles starts, assuming that is the case. I think he makes for a pretty good value play at 3.7 that probably gets around 30 minutes. Rudy Gay should get more minutes at 4.3K. He's a productive point per minute guy, so I like Rudy Gay. Royce more just fine, and then they might add Trent Ford to this rotation, or I don't want to really consider anyone else, but they'll probably add someone else to this Utah Jazz rotation. Clippers and the Nuggets. Again, this Clippers team is just no Kawhi, no Paul George still. Marcus Morris at 6'5". I mean, he's been probably the most consistent player this year. I think he plays in a competitive game 35-plus minutes. We saw 37 and 38 from him last couple games, so I think he's fine in the mid-range. Reggie's been very, very up and down. Amir Coffey at 5'7". The minutes have been pretty secure for him. I actually kind of like Amir in the mid-range. He's been a lot more aggressive in the offensive end over the last 2-3 weeks. So I think Coffey actually looks pretty good in the mid-range. Can we talk about this too? Strange stuff in NBA DFS. We talk about Nick Batum going for a 50 bomb. No, I will not be chasing Nick Batum at 5.3. Zubac at 4.2. Big Denver front court. I mean, he got massive foul trouble last time and got one fancy point. But I think at this price point, I think it's worth taking a look. And then if you think he gets in some foul trouble, you can go to a guy like Hartenstein who did play 15 minutes in his first game back. On the Denver side, so Nikola Jokic, I've been playing this guy almost every single slate. And every single time, it's either random foul trouble or blowout. Random foul trouble or blowout. Finally, fade against Utah, and he goes for 129 fancy points. But yeah, it's a really good matchup here at 12-4, so I think he makes a pretty good spend up if the game can stay competitive. Not a ton else that really stands out with likes of Gordon, Barton, Morris. We do have Rivers coming back, so Bones has played well off the bench and has got a lot more minutes, but how many minutes he's going to get now with Rivers back? So just be careful with Bones, a guy that's almost out of the rotation just a week ago. So I like Bones as a player, but I don't know how many minutes he gets with Austin Rivers coming back. And for some reason, Denver wants to play Austin Rivers. All right, Detroit, Sacramento. So we saw Detroit get absolutely destroyed, but this is just two awful teams going up against each other. So it should stay competitive. Cade Cunningham at 7.3 was the massive chalk tonight, an absolute massive bust. I know I said massive a couple times, but he was just a huge bust at 50+% ownership. So I think Cade, if this game stays competitive, probably plays low 30s minutes. Again, didn't play a ton tonight because of the blowout. So I like him at that price point. Sadiq Bey, Diallo don't really stand out to me. The bigs, Stewart versus Trey Lyles. I probably feel a little bit better about Lyles because the power forward eligibility. Both are fine options. We did see Killian Hayes got injured. Corey Joseph started the game, or started the second half. So assuming that Corey Joseph starts, I actually think he's an okay play at 4.9K. And then it makes Saban Lee a little bit more playable too, assuming Killian Hayes can't go. I think he would probably play, over 20 minutes off the bench. So opens up a little bit there for Detroit, assuming that Killian Hayes is not available. On the Sacramento side, so the answer is yes, I'm still tilting that last slate when I played Halliburton and he got ejected. But with no Halliburton, Fox looks pretty good, right? He's probably going to play mid-30s minutes and going to be their highest usage player. So I like De'Aaron Fox this price. And then the secondary options all get a pretty big boost too. We do have Marvin Bagley coming back, which kind of makes Metu a little bit riskier. Now, last game we saw Terrence Davis start. He played 37 minutes. I don't know what to make of this, guys, because there's been games with Terrence Davis that started and played 12 minutes. Played really well. He is a good point per minute guy, but I don't have confidence in his minutes. So he could play 12 minutes tomorrow. He could play 37 again, and I wouldn't be shocked about either. Buddy Hield does become more in play at 6'3", but also his price is up. He had a good game last game. Harrison Barnes, I think, is a relatively safe play that should play somewhere around 30 to 35-ish minutes. As far as the bigs go, so Rashawn Holmes is only 4.4K. They did limit his minutes the first game back to 15, but keep an eye on the news here. If we get news that he's full go, then I'd be willing to roll the dice on a guy like Holmes. And then we saw a lot more run for Davion Mitchell last game. Again, a lot of that though was due to De'Aaron Fox ejection. So be careful with Davion Mitchell. I think people might chase it, but I don't believe those minutes are secure. And finally, the Pacers and the Lakers. So the big news here is Malcolm Brogdon is currently questionable. If he cannot go, it's going to make Karis LeVert look pretty good at 7'9". He'll do a lot of the ball handling and probably play 35-plus minutes. So would like LeVert a good amount. And then Domantas Sabonis at 10-1. There's no Miles Turner. He's going to play a lot the 5. He gets a boost as well. So the top two guys here for the Pacers, I think, look pretty good. The rest of this Pacers roster, Justin Holiday probably plays big minutes. But again, it's Justin Holiday. Duarte had a really big game last game. He's only 4'6". I think he would be in play if Brogdon's out. We saw more minutes for a guy like O'Shea Brissett. He played low 20s minutes, playable. We saw a really, really big game from Goga Batadze at 3'6". My only concern here is that the Lakers like running small ball, so I'm not sure how many minutes Goga gets in this game. Lance Stevenson is 4.1K. The minutes have been trending down on him. But, I mean, you've seen crazier things in DFS, so sure, I guess he's in consideration. And let's finish up here with the Lakers. So LeBron James, 11.3K, finally not a center, which is good to see as that point guard, small forward eligibility. He's going to play big minutes. He's been a little bit disappointing of late, last 4 games, but still some interest in LeBron at that price. Westbrook's just been awful. He had that massive dunk against Gobert, but he has really, really been bad. Malik Monk came off the bench last game. Only played 25 minutes. I think he's fine for tournaments. Now keep an eye on the starting lineup. So if a guy like Dwight Howard ends up starting, then I think he's a good value. If he doesn't start, I'm probably not going to touch him because then I'll be worried that there's a chance that he gets a DNP. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the video today. So if you have enjoyed the content, again, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Really, really appreciate it, guys. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.